Yo, what's good? Is 2024 a whole new year, a whole new topics, whole new stuff we're gonna talk about on the finance game, but we gotta start the year off with some foolishness. We gotta start the year off with foolishness because hey, it's New Year and people can't get it together. If you're new to the channel, I'm Marcus, the Debt Free Dad, where we're talking finance and attorney reactions. Hey, I always got to give the disclaimer I'm a licensed attorney in many places. None of those places amount to me being your counsel. Always seek a professional, whether it's finance, whether it's legal crap, whether it's plumbing. Get a professional, somebody who actually knows what they're doing. Don't ever listen to a talking head on YouTube. Just, hey, I'm just throwing that out there. Now, we're going to talk about a little bit of a disorder in the courtroom, okay? And disorder in the courtroom is interesting because, I don't know, that used to be kind of always one of my thoughts. I got so many stories I could tell about when crazy stuff happened in the courtroom. One of the things that always crossed my mind as a young attorney was one show that I'm never going to end up on is Disorder in the Court, getting my ass whipped. Okay, that was I kind of took pride in that. Like, hey, crazy stuff is going to happen, but it's definitely not going to happen to me. So in this video, I'm gonna react to a defendant who went ham. Anybody ever still say that? But he went ham and decided, you know what? I'm going to go after this judge. Now, there's a few stories that come to mind. I don't think I've ever had a disorder in the court moment. I can remember one time your boy was in the courtroom. I can't even remember what I was representing the guy on. And he came in mad, calm, and respectful, like, hey, Madam Prosecutor, my homegirl, who's a judge now, Madam DA. And I mean, he was real nice and polite. I was his defense counsel. When the judge didn't rule in his favor, this dude had me rolling because he went ham and cursed everybody out. He cursed the court reporter out, the bailiff out, told the prosecutor to kisses, you know what? I mean, went in on the judge. This dude just went ham. He gave it to everybody who was in the courtroom. He gave it to people who were sitting in the audience. I kind of felt left out. I was like, damn, he ain't saying anything about me. He must have think I tried my hardest or something. But it was very hardly ever. I think maybe one legitimate time where I was worried about a disorder in the court moment where I probably could have gotten my ass whipped. 99.9% of the time, I'm never worried about a disorder in the court moment, even at my age currently, because I'm just not getting my ass whipped in court. It's just not going to happen. It's not an option. If anything, I'm whooping your ass in court. Yeah, I'm not getting my ass whipped in court. But it was this one time, and I told this story before, where I represented this guy. I can't even remember what the charge was, but this dude had to be 6'4", 6'5", 275 pounds. He looked like the guy off of the Green Mile. This was in the Carolinas, and this dude, I'm not going to say what his name was, but he was named after a city that was in close proximity to the courtroom. So we're going to call him, for purposes of this story, Mr. Raleigh. Mr. Raleigh looked like he should have been on the NFL somewhere sacking Brett Favre at the time. But no, he was in court. But the dude was mad respectful, right? So he never did anything that kind of caused him or me to get the opinion that he was wild out. But his case was ass. The facts of his case were terrible facts. I knew it wasn't going to go in his favor just because the facts were just so god awful. He knew it wasn't going to go in his favor. And I can remember standing up, after everybody do their thing, you do your cross-examination thing. We stand up, and I'm standing beside my client. They read out that verdict. Now, this dude, I'm 6 feet tall. This dude about 6'4", 6'5", but he huge. I'm like, they read out that verdict. They was like, guilty. Then they read out that guilty verdict. They turn over the sentencing. Right before they read the verdict, you see me take a couple steps over. I had to step just outside of his reach because that was the one person in all the years that I've been in court. That was the one person where I was like, if this dude grabbed me, I might be in a world of trouble. Normally, I've had clients who said reckless stuff in court, and At that time, young me, I would say reckless stuff back. It just was what it was. But that was the one guy who, if he wanted to like be on DisOrder in the court and actually whip BFG's ass, he probably had all the faculties and abilities to do it. Normally, I'm not too worried about that stuff. Like I said, I ain't the biggest guy in the world, but I ain't the smallest guy in the world. I can do enough to handle my own. I got enough formalized training between the military and jiu-jitsu and boxing where I'm not gonna get a mud hole stomped in me. I should be able to hold my own, at least till the bailiff come there. Unless you got a 98-year-old bailiff like Barney Fife sitting in the courtroom, then you just gotta have some squabs about you. But let's go ahead, take a look at this video. I'm gonna give y'all the background. We're gonna watch two videos because we gotta watch the video of what happened as I break it down. Then we're going to watch a video on the back end because I saw this as I was looking for this video. Apparently, the bailiffs went to the wrong courtroom. Those guys are absolutely terrible. We definitely going to break it down. Hey, I appreciate you, sis, for tuning in. Hey, I had to talk about this. It was foolishness. It was an illegal arena, so I definitely had to jump in. So let's go ahead, cue up this video. I got my libations here. Now, let me lay out the scene for y'all, okay? I believe this is a parole violation. The gentleman was not in custody, so he came in, met his attorney for court. Most times we had these parole or probation violations. It's somebody who did some shit or allegedly did some shit that they wasn't supposed to do. They went missing. They got a new conviction. They failed the drug test. So when you get those things, you got to go back to court, and you're pretty much at the mercy of the judge. It ain't no real laws out there to really help you. It's just like, Your Honor, we know this happened, but we're asking you to continue him on probation, give him a 6-month extension, maybe add some additional conditions, house arrest, curfew, but you just there begging for shit that your client may not necessarily deserve depending on what the violation was. Most times, if a person goes missing or they get a new criminal conviction, it's a wrap. But not in custody, he's coming for a probation hearing. He's going to be begging his ass off for something that he probably don't deserve. I'm going to take a few occasional pauses so we can break this down and point out where did shit go left.
But I do think prison is appropriate. I asked the court to impose 1948 on this case based on the criminal history and the facts of this case.
Okay. Mr. Reeden, is there anything you want to say on your own behalf before I pronounce sentence?
See, his attorney asked, I don't think prison appropriate. I'm asking the court, blah, blah, blah. The attorney don't even look confident. That's how you know that he knew going in. Bro, you're going to have to, this time going to get activated.
So basically, I would like to tell the courts, everyone here, like, based on my criminal history, like, I feel that, like, I shouldn't be, like, sent to prison for a second time.
Have you looked at your criminal history? Have you looked at your criminal history?
I actually just, I looked at it.
I mean, you lived it, I suppose.
I just looked at it,
Yeah.
All right, real quick, let's take a quick pause here because I took a look at this gentleman's criminal history, wanted to make sure, but multiple felonies, battery, assault, a lot of domestic violence things, some misdemeanors in his background. There also were instances where he was in court, involuntary commitment or voluntary. I wasn't really specific and I wasn't sure how they did it in this county, but he was in mental health court at some point in time. Now, I want y'all to pay attention here because this is really true. The very first attorney who I worked for only wanted attorneys who worked and lived in the same county. So if you come work for me, we're going to hire people who presumably work in the same county. And I never knew why. I was like, why did you have a preference for, of course, I lived in the county. It is, I don't want to travel far for work. Y'all know that I ain't trying to drive more than 15, 20 minutes to work. But his thing was people who work in the county that they live in, one, they care about what's going on in the county because it's their county. but they're going to have a little bit more respect. Think about it. If you're a prosecutor and you work in county, A, but you live in county D, you probably going to be a little bit more slick in the tongue, because chances of you running into somebody who you had to have dealings with, who you had to prosecute, and where you live in county D, who is from county A, might be slim. It could happen, but chances are it won't. But, if you live in the same county where you work, the thought process is you'll care about it more because it impacts your home, but you'll have a little bit more respect. Trust me, I had cases that I lost from people who was straight goons, and hey, long as you keep everything respectful, they always kept everything respectful, never had no issues. So I want y'all to listen closely to how the judge is talking to this gentleman. That's how I know that she's been on the bench for a long time. Nobody ever checked her, and nobody has ever put her in a situation like this. Hey, I'm not saying that it's right, but you can tell she was a little slick at the tongue, probably more than she should have been, in my personal opinion.
I looked at it.
I mean, you lived it, I
I
suppose.
just looked at it, yeah.
Yeah.
And,
3 felonies, a gross, 9 misdemeanors, multiple DVs. Got a lot going on, sir.
yeah, I just figured like,
Battery on a protected person, robberies, attempt home invasion.
Yeah, his record
Go ahead, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I was just.
I just figured like, I'm gonna better.
Well, I guess she really wasn't rude. I don't know. I guess she really wasn't rude, but I don't know. Her demeanor could, in my opinion, have been a little bit more professional, because hey, that's people who go home at the end of the day. They don't really. You kind of lose track of that this is somebody else's life. You know what I mean? They go on some way to prison, to jail, where they could actually lose their life in that place. So you kind of lose track of that because you just do that shit so much.
Go ahead, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I was just. Attempt home invasion. Go ahead, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I was just.
I just figured like, I'm in a better place in my mind, my mental health. I have a support system. That the reason behind every single domestic violence, I've been dealing with mental health, and I didn't know that I was dealing with mental health. They put me in mental health court, and I still didn't know that I had a mental health problem.
Look at this lawyer.
August 2020,
He's so disinterested.
I realized I have a problem with this, and like having a dictionary and like understanding myself, getting to know myself a little better, and applying it to my personality, and having a epiphany at that moment, those instances, and just like trying to learn from my mistakes, I feel like I shouldn't be sent to prison, but if it's appropriate.
And this is my first time actually watching this whole video, so I take that first statement back. I don't think she was a little too terrible. I mean, she had a little bit of attitude, but I've seen way worse.
For you, then you have to do what you have to do. But I figured that if I'm in a better place in my life, I'm not doing drugs. I'm not out there committing crimes now.
I'm not committing crimes now. Everybody got the same story too. Like, I'm in school now. I start a job next week. Like, I don't know. You just hear that shit so much. You just be like, I already know how the judge is, because I would be the same way after hearing this story over and over and over again.
I feel like I should be given a shot.
I appreciate that, but I think it's time that you get a taste of something else, because I just can't with that history. In accordance with the laws of the state of Nevada, this court.
All right, let's pause it right there, okay? Now, that is actually the perfect moment to pause this video, right? Maybe a half a second back, but let's pause it right there, because I got to talk about this in all fairness. I've been in courtrooms all across these United States, state courts in Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, D.C., New York, federal courts, Alabama, Mississippi. I've been in courtrooms all over the place. I have never been in a courtroom. Well, scratch that. Every courtroom that I have been in, that I've seen, and I've seen at least, probably 20 courtrooms inside of these United States, if not more. Every courtroom I've seen, where the judge's bench is, it's always elevated. So if If the floor is right here, to get to the floor and where the judges is sitting, you have to have some fucking hops. Hey, I'm just gonna be honest. Like, back in the day, in my early 20s, your boy had some bounce. I could get up there, I could throw it down, but you have to have some pretty good damn hops to be able to hop over that damn table. That's first and foremost. So we got to take a look at the athleticism here because, hey, I got to give it up to that guy. That's a hard ass thing to do, to jump from the ground level, to get from behind the defendant's desk, then get a couple of steps to get enough bounce to be able to do a complete dive into where the judge is sitting. That got to be, to jump over that thing in most courtrooms, you're talking about at least 3.5, 4 feet off the ground. It maybe more depending on what courtroom you're in. So, hey, we got to respect the athleticism. But the second thing is, and let's play it, then we're going, let's go back to it. I want to make this larger and finish playing it, then I'm going to talk about it. So again, she wasn't too smart. I think she just has what all judges had. They heard and seen all of this shit before. So they're a little bit nonchalant about it. But I don't think she did anything that would have enticed them. The guy was talking real clean, real humble, as if he turned over a new leaf. And then he immediately propelled himself with at least a good 48. I don't know, man. He got to have some bounce to get over where he did.
In accordance with the laws of the state of Nevada, this court.
Oh, they didn't. All right, so they didn't show it. Maybe it'll be in another video. But you'll see in that video, the bailiffs completely failed to do their job. Bailiffs in the courtroom, they got one damn job, and that sole job is to keep order in the courtroom, to keep judges, members of the court, attorneys, court reporters, especially people who are behind that barrier with the judge, the court reporter, the court personnel. Your job is to keep them from getting their ass whipped. That's it. Bottom line, if something happened, you protect them. This dude clearly failed. Whoever the bailiff is, in my personal opinion, they need to be fired and or reassigned. Now, I'm trying to find a video because I believe that gentleman right there in the suit, when we look at that video.
After that brutal attack in a Las Vegas courtroom, officials providing a highly anticipated update on Judge Mary Kay Holthus.
Judge Holthus was injured and received medical
attack in a Las Vegas.
Real quick, I want to show you. So this gentleman right here in the right-hand corner of your video, I believe that is her law clerk, if I'm not mistaken. Her law clerk who jumped in. And, hey, I'm going to give him credit because he got up, rose up to the occasion. He threw a bullshit-ass punch. But, hey, he did what he could do to keep the judge from getting too jacked up. When I actually went back and read the report, guy dived over the bench. He slams the judge head against the wall, landed a couple of blows, not anything clean, and pulled out like some of her hair, a handful of her hair, according to reports.
After that brutal attack in a Las Vegas courtroom, officials providing a highly anticipated update on Judge Mary Kay Holthus.
Judge Holthus was injured and received medical attention. She remains sore and stiff, but thankful it was not more severe.
Judge Holthus releasing a statement thanking well-wishers, writing, "I am extremely grateful to those who took brave action during the attack." The shocking incident captured on courtroom cameras playing out as the seasoned judge was sentencing 30-year-old Deobra Reeden to prison for attempted battery.
That's a Deobra. That's an interesting name.
The defendant, who has a history of violent assaults, jumping over the bench, tackling her to the ground, and sending a court-martial to the hospital. The terrifying episode calling into question security procedures in our nation's courts.
Look at that.
How common is it to have attacks or threats?
Security procedures in our
God damn, those some terrible punches.
security procedures in our nation's courts.
How common is it to have attacks or threats like this in a courtroom?
Attacks like this, these emotional, impromptu acts of violence occur probably daily in courtrooms across the country.
Like this incident in Mississippi, a suspect caught on video throwing things at the judge. But Las Vegas officials say they've never seen anything like this.
There's plenty of instances where somebody is, becomes rowdy in the
Damn, bro,
courtroom.
he
This
is
is the first one I've
aggressive.
seen where somebody supermaned over the judicial bench.
Superman.
Reeden faces multiple new felony charges of battery,
As he
including
should.
battery against a protected person, meaning the judge and her court staff. According to court records, he refused to appear in court Thursday to face those new charges. Clark County's district attorney says the court is now reviewing its security protocols.
Reden's reaction happened so quickly, I don't know if anything could have been done to prevent him from what he did.
Now, according to those court records, Reeden is set to return to court on Tuesday. Judge Holthus is still planning to oversee that hearing where she's going to sentence Reeden for his initial crime. The court does plan to add another court-martial for extra safety. And we did reach out to Reden's lawyers, but they're not commenting, Craig.
Yeah, and hey, I'm being honest. The judge has no choice but to go back to court. You can't run and cower from that dude. I don't give a damn what he did, but I mean, people in the courtroom, they get their ass whipped all the time. It's actually quite common. I think part of it is like someone looks like somebody who asked they could whip. I think that's part of it. Let's just be real and keep it 100. If that judge looked like Terry Crews sitting back there, he wouldn't have flew his ass over that damn table. So part of it is you look like somebody I think I could fuck up. So I'm gonna jump over this table. I know it was one instance where attorney was, back when I was doing defense work, the courthouse is here, and literally like 2-3 blocks away was the local jail. So, if your client was in custody, you could leave court, go over and see him, vice versa. It was a very short walk. And it was one attorney, it was jacked up too, because he was an older guy. Like, I don't know, man. He probably was, then I was in my 20s. So he probably was maybe in his 60s. I don't know. Like, he looked like he was in his 60s, but he was old, all white hair. He looked like the Doc from Back to the Future. And he was walking to go see his client across the street or going to the jail. And someone who he represented that day just ran up on him and they whooped his. I'm talking about like tuned him up where Buddy was in the hospital. So, it's definitely some crazy people out there. I completely disagree that it was nothing that could have been done. The whole point of having a bailiff in the courtroom is to protect the court staff and make sure that there's order in the courtroom. Most times in most courtrooms I see, most times they have 2 bailiffs inside of the court, depending on what's going on. Like if it was a trial for a drug kingpin, they probably going to have more security. But normally you have 2, maybe 3 bailiffs in the courtroom. You'll have one at the door where the public can come in. You may have another at the door where court personnel can come in, all the attorneys and everything. Then there's always another door where they transport persons in custody, where they bring them in from the jail line to come and have their case heard. So normally you got 3 people in the courtroom or in close proximity to the courtroom. That person who's out with the public at, they may be kind of in the hallway, but you got one watching the public as they come in, one at the entrance where the court personnel could come in, another is closely at the entrance where the persons in custody come in. So it's very hard to get from behind this damn table to probably about a 15-foot, I say 10 to 15-foot distance, to close that distance where the judge is when the bailiff is probably 7 feet away. So I'm just thinking that the bailiff was fucking asleep on the job. That's just my personal opinion. But it's crazy and as wild as it is, it's not uncommon for people. You can just go on YouTube. Like literally, I literally Googled disorder in the court. And man, there was nothing but videos of people getting their ass with judges, bailiffs. It just happens, it's just something you got to deal with. I give credit to all the bailiffs who I came across, especially those early bailiffs back in my criminal defense days. Those dudes didn't play. Like, I can remember one time I was in the hallway talking to a client, and I guess it was like rival gangs or crews or whatever they call them in that part of town was there, and the riot broke out. Literally, the riot break out. I'm standing there with my client having a conversation. Before I can even swivel my head around, I see a deputy flying, hauling ass full speed. One guy tackled about 4 people, boom, knocked all of them out the damn way. And I was like those deputies, they didn't play. So, but it depends. I've been in some courtrooms, like I said, with a deputy like 97 years old, and I'm like, bro, if something happened, this judge ain't got no recourse. This judge won't have no help. But y'all let me know who or what is really at fault here. Do you think it was a staffing thing? Because according to reports, when they called the bailiffs to the courtroom, these bailiffs was on their Barney Fife kind of goofy Three Stooges stuff, and they went to the wrong courtroom, apparently. Let me show y'all exactly what I'm talking about. And I thought that this
Well, a deeper dive.
I thought this was even
Well,
more.
a deeper dive into the arrest report of Deobra Reeden, the man seen on video attacking a Clark County District Court judge on Wednesday. Well, Channel 13 also obtaining Reeden's latest mugshot.
We're learning more about critical moments in the initial response to the incident and what the defendant said to correction officers while he was being booked into jail. Kelsey McFarland dug through the report and has the latest.
The arrest report paints a chaotic scene with blood spatter and documents scattered across the courtroom. And we've just learned the judge and defendant will reunite in just a few days. Judge Mary Kay Holthus filed an order today ensuring she will have the chance to sentence 30-year-old Deobra Reeden on Monday, ordering officers to transport Reeden to the courtroom by any and all means necessary.
I think it's time that he gets a taste of something else because I just can't with that history.
Judge Mary Kay Holthus told police she was about to sentence 30-year-old Deobra Reeden to prison when the 6-foot, 190-pound man leapt over her bench and attacked her. Holthus said Reeden knocked
6 foot 190 here. He almost in a DFD measurements over there. My knees ain't got it like that though. The judge would have got away with one that way. My knees ain't gonna allow me to have that bounce no more.
Her out of her chair and slammed her head against the wall before ripping some of her hair out. When her law clerk, Michael Lasso, stepped in to help, Judge Holthus crawled under her desk, covering her face. The arrest report states Lasso, the man many are calling a hero, has known Judge Holthus his entire life. Outside the courtroom, a delay in response. The arrest report states 2 marshals were notified of a panic alarm from courtroom 3G. They responded and said nothing appeared to be out of the ordinary. That's because the chaos was happening next door in courtroom 3F.
How the hell did that happen? You got a panic alarm. I'm sure when you hit the panic alarm, the damn thing show you what courtroom it is. Somebody in courtroom G getting their damn hair pulled out, and these guys in courtroom F like, all's clear over here. Like, that's some real Barney Fife, Three Stooges, you know what.
Marshals were flagged down to the correct room and arrived as Reeden was being taken into custody. While marshals transported Reeden to his holding cell, he reportedly told them, quote, "Judge has it out for me. Judge is evil," asking one marshal if what he did was wrong.
You gotta ask us what I did was wrong. Like, come on, like this dude, he may need another forensic evaluation.
Saying, quote, "I'm sorry you guys had to see that." At the Clark County Detention Center, Reeden reportedly spat in the face of a corrections officer.
Oh man, that's crazy. You spit in somebody's face too, depending on where you at. That's like a whole felony. Like bodily fluids. They came up with that in a lot of states because you know how guys are in jail with them disgusting cocktails. They like to throw at officers. So it's a lot of states. There's a felony if it's a bodily fluid. If it's a bodily fluid and you have some type of like illness or disease, like I've seen cases where like they charge somebody with like attempted murder. Like, okay, this person may have been HIV positive and they in custody and they threw a disgusting ass cocktail at a CO. And I've seen cases where persons have been charged with attempted murder for doing anything with bodily fluids, throwing it at an officer, an individual, anything.
Center, Reeden reportedly spat in the face of a corrections officer. While he was being strip searched, corrections officers heard him utter the words, "He had a bad day," and tried to kill the judge today.
Yeah. So, hey, clearly the judge knew what she was doing in denying his request for not going into custody because, hey, this is the conduct in the words of somebody who clearly needs to be in custody. I know there is some record of mental health issues, and he alluded to mental health issues, but I'm just tell you right now, like, hey, mental health is a real thing, but in the legal world, a lot of times people try to finesse with the mental health thing. Like, nah, like if you was there, you were competent to stand trial, unless you were like involuntarily committed, then that would be a whole different story. But you know, I've seen people, I've had clients who like, oh, they try to play. I can't think of one person, actually. I had so many cases where I requested a forensic evaluation for a client. I can't think of one where someone came back and they weren't competent to proceed to trial. That's just, you know, in my experience, that shit rarely happens. Like, okay, you can play crazy if you want, but it's very hard to come back and you are found not competent to move forward in trial. That just doesn't happen that often in my experience.
He had a bad day and tried to kill the judge today. A hazmat team has since cleaned the courtroom, and Judge Holthus was back on the bench one day after the attack. She's scheduled to sentence Reeden once again on Monday. I've reached out to the Regional Justice Center to find out why and how marshals were sent to the wrong courtroom and if there's any issue with the panic alarm system. We'll continue to follow this and bring you the latest. In studio, I'm Kelsey.
They ain't gonna ever hear back from those guys with that crazy ass thing. But yo, that crazy stuff happens all the time. Like I said, I told y'all in the beginning, I had one instance where it might have been plausible for your boy to end up on a DisOrder in the court, getting his ass whipped. But, you know, luckily it didn't happen. That client was mad huge, but he was actually cool. And, you know, like, yo, most people, you could lose a case and somebody could get life in prison. If you actually do your damn job, I don't care how bad the facts are. Like, damn, my client lost. He got sent away forever. If you actually do your job, most times clients ain't gonna have no beef with you. You know, I can think of, it was only one instance where, like, in court, a client, like, I don't know if I wouldn't say he got ruly, but he did get a little slick at the mouth. It was a probation thing, just like this. He went missing for like 2 years, and they was about to throw his ass back in custody because he just vanished. Nobody could find him. P.O., he gone for years and went and started a whole new life and everything, but now he was going to have to eat that time. And I remember when they was taking him out in custody, because, I mean, I'm an attorney. I'm not a goddamn shaman. I can't pull a miracle out of my ass. And so when they was taking him into custody, he said something like, I can't remember what it said. It was like, he was talking shit to me, though. And it was like an open court, right? But you got to think, you know, this was back when I was young and probably not as professional and a little bit immature. And so he said something to the effect of, like, I should go to hell, or I was a trash ass attorney or something like this. This probably was in like my first 6 months. So I probably wasn't great in my first 6 months. But hey, I'm better than you if you was out here by yourself. And so he said whatever he said. And I immediately went to like a hood reaction. I should have just not said anything. But he said something slick. And my response was something like, yeah, you can say whatever you want. Why don't you try saying that to your roommate where you about to go, mother? And I was like, and everybody just was like, everybody turned and looked at me, and I just left out the courtroom. I wasn't thinking about it twice because I was like, man, this dude ain't gonna talk to me all kind of reckless. Who the hell he think he is? But it was an older guy. Salute to Mr. Penn, who he pulled me aside a couple of times, man. It was like, nah, that's not how we do business. And so I made sure I went over to the local jail to see him off before he went, because he was doing prison time. But I made sure to go over there and make sure everything was smoothed out. But those moments happen. You know, most times, if you're just doing your job, most people respect that. Whether you're the prosecutor or the defense, most people respect you doing your job. It's very few and far between do people actually try to whip somebody's ass in court. But it's so much court going on, it seems like it happens all the damn time. But y'all let me know what y'all think. Is that a bailiff thing? Do y'all think the bailiffs could have stopped that? The bailiffs should have stopped that? Should the bailiffs been fired? I think that's all on the bailiffs to stop shit like that from happening. There's no way somebody should get from behind that table, do a Superman leap over a damn 4, almost 5 foot height to get to the judge. Shout out to the judge, because the judge, I don't know how old she was, but at least she had some reflexes. And shout out to her clerk. I don't know if her clerk was an intern or if that was his actual job, but if it wasn't, whatever it was, she needs to make sure that she find that dude a job, because he didn't have to intervene. And if he probably didn't intervene, her situation and her injuries probably would have been a lot worse, in my opinion. Y'all let me know what y'all think in the comments. Yo, disorder in the court. I can almost with 100% accuracy guarantee that y'all never see this dude on disorder in the court. And if y'all do, it's not going to be for getting his ass whipped. Yo, y'all have a good one. If you enjoyed this video, check out the video on the screen. There's going to be more content related to attorney reactions and finance.